So on number 1, it tells us Eddie is 63 inches tall. Do we all remember that those two hash marks that look kind of like quotation marks? That is the symbol for inches. And just as a little reference on our body, we always say an inch is about the length of a child's thumb. Eddie is 63 inches tall. Randy is 48 inches tall. How much taller than Randy is Eddie? Well, anytime we see an ER word or the phrase how many more, we're finding the difference between two things. And that's always going to be subtraction. So when we put that in an array, since Eddie is a larger height, he's going to go in this big square. And then Randy is going to go in this square. And then once we do that subtraction, we end up with a difference of 15 inches. So Eddie is 15 inches taller than Randy. So when we do the 63 minus 48 to find the difference in their height, we can't do 3 minus 8, can we? Because if the bottom number is bigger than the top, to my neighbor I will hop, and I borrow from the left, and the one that I borrowed I carry home to the right. 13 minus 8 is 5, and 5 minus 4 is 1. So just don't forget that we always have to evaluate and see if we need to borrow or not. And jokingly, we like to do, if I only have 3 fingers, you can't come pull off 8 fingers. So if the bottom number is bigger than the top, you've got some regrouping to do. Number 2 is a word problem. So remember, we always use our workspace, or you can use scrap paper or a whiteboard. And we talk about how a mathematician is a scientist and a sheet of paper is the laboratory. So you have to really make pictures and organize your information and then see what the question wants you to do. So there are 126 grade 3 children at Gainfield School, so I organized that information right here. 78 children in grade 3 went on a field trip to the Nature Center, so I've got that in my workspace. How many grade 3 children are left at school? A lot of times when they ask us how many are left, that is a key word for subtraction. So we needed to find the difference between the 126 third graders in the school. We had to take out the 78 that went on the field trip. So we end up with 48 third graders left at the school. And I wanted to go over with you when we do that subtraction for number 2. We evaluate, can we do 6 minus 8? If the bottom number is bigger than the top, to my neighbor I will hop. So we're going to borrow from the left and carry to the right. 16 minus 8 is 8. And let's evaluate here in the tens place. Can I do 1 minus 7? If the bottom is bigger than top, to my neighbor I will hop, and I borrow from the left and carry to the right. And 11 minus 7 is 4, and then I have no sets of 100. So our next section talks about parallel lines. So I thought this was a good visual for you on parallel lines. They run alongside each other. They will never get closer. They will never get further away from each other. You can follow them for miles and miles and miles, and they will always be the same distance apart. And if you look in the word parallel, those two L's that are together are parallel lines. They will never get closer and never further apart. A good real-world example of parallel lines is roller coaster tracks or train tracks. They might even curve a little bit or turn, but the rails will never get closer or further apart. They will always just run alongside each other the same distance away. On number 3, they wanted you to find just one letter of the alphabet that had parallel line segments. I went ahead and did all the capitals I could think of that had parallel line segments. And I highlighted the parallel lines in red. And then on number 4, we're measuring these line segments in inches. So I'm going to go to my ruler and I'm going to go to the inch side. It's about the length of like a child's thumb. So I'm going to get this lined up here. So this one, we've got 4 whole inches, and then we've got a quarter of another inch. We're not quite to the half mark, but we're at a quarter mark. So this is 4 1/4 inches long. So we would write that like this. We have 4 whole inches, and then a quarter piece of another inch. And I'm going to actually use the inch symbol here. So on the second one, we're going to get our ruler lined up. So we have passed the 2 inches, and we have 3/4 of another inch. We haven't reached the 3 inches yet. We're past 2 1/2. So we have 2 3/4 inches. So we would write it like this. We have 2 whole inches, and then 3/4 pieces of another inch, a 3/4 piece of another inch. On number 5, it's a pictograph using pictures or symbols to represent information in a visual way. And remember, we always want to look at the key. Every smiley face symbol stands for 2 children, so we won't be counting 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll be skip counting by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8. And I always like to pre-label my pictograph. So when I go to tuna, it's 2, 4, 6, and then half a smiley face would stand for a single. So 7 chose tuna, 2, 4, 6 chose ham and cheese, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 chose turkey. And then on peanut butter, we have 2, 4, and then half of one would be another single. So 2, 4, 5. So to represent that 5 chose peanut butter and jelly, I did a whole smiley face, that counts for 2. I did another whole smiley face, that brings me to 4. And then I just needed half a smiley face to show one more single peanut butter and jelly.